What if everything you've ever believed about who you are was a lie? What if time, death, and identity were nothing more than illusions? And what if the truth had been hiding in plain sight, just waiting for you to remember? You've been told a story since the moment you were born, one carefully crafted, passed from generation to generation, whispered into your mind before you could speak. A name was chosen for you, a personality was formed, boundaries were drawn, and you accepted them like everyone else, because it was all you ever knew. But deep within, something never quite fit. A faint echo, a persistent feeling that you were more than this script, that somehow, some way, you've always known. This isn't the whole truth. Now, you're here, listening. And that's no accident. There is a truth so profound, so transformative, that most people will spend their entire lives avoiding it. Not because it's hidden, but because it requires them to see, to truly look beyond the veil. But if you dare, if you let yourself remember, everything changes. The physicist John Wheeler, who worked alongside Albert Einstein, quietly uncovered something that few could grasp and fewer still dared to believe. He called it the participatory universe, the revelation that you are not just inside reality. You are its architect. That your very act of awareness isn't just observing existence, it's creating it. Every thought, every glance, every heartbeat, it all shapes the world around you. So now ask yourself, if your life has been built on a story, what happens when the story ends? Or more accurately, when you stop believing it? Because who you think you are, the roles you've rehearsed, the labels you've worn, the voice in your head that says, "This is me, that's not you." Not really. Look in the mirror. You'll see a body, a face, maybe a history. But whose eyes are looking back? Who's the one observing that reflection? That voice in your mind, where is it coming from? You've changed so many times, new thoughts, new habits, new memories. Your body has regenerated, your cells replaced. Even your brain, the supposed control center, has rewired itself 100 times over. So if none of that has remained the same, then what hasn't changed? The answer is awareness. That still, silent witness behind every moment, every thought, every emotion. The presence that's always been there, never born, never dying. Watching, feeling, being. Close your eyes. Imagine life like a film reel. Each frame exists past, present, future, not in a sequence, but simultaneously. We perceive movement because we're projecting them one after another. But the truth is, the film doesn't roll unless someone watches it. The story only exists because of the observer. You. John Wheeler's work proved that without the observer, there is no observed. Your consciousness isn't part of the equation, it is the equation. The moment you see that, really see it, the illusion starts to crack. You begin to remember who you really are, not the character in the play, but the one writing it, not the painting, but the brush, the canvas, and the artist all at once. But somewhere along the way, something interfered. Something subtle, persistent, whispering that you're small, limited, unworthy, that the world is happening to you, not through you. This presence is called the ego, and it's been the author of your story for far too long. The ego is the ultimate illusion, a trickster hiding in plain sight. It whispers your name, speaks in your voice, wears your face, and yet it is not you. It is a filter, a mask, a pair of tinted lenses coloring the world in fear and separation. Imagine wearing a virtual headset so convincing, so deeply immersive, that you forget it's even there. You wander through a dark forest, terrified. You hear the growls of unseen beasts, feel the chill bite of wind, and you run not knowing it's all a projection, a simulation. But the moment you remove the headset, reality changes. The forest was never real. Only your belief in it made it so. This is what the ego does. It convinces you that you are a separate being in a hostile world, that you must fight, perform, succeed, conform, that you must prove yourself. But all along, the truth waits patiently untouched, unaffected like the sky behind a passing storm. Wheeler's participatory universe dismantles this illusion. He revealed a universe not cold and mechanical, but responsive and alive, a mirror that bends and ripples in accordance with your every thought and emotion. You are not merely an observer in this realm. You are the conductor of its symphony. Each intention you hold, each belief you nurture, sends shockwaves through the very fabric of reality. And yet, most people never realize this. They go their whole lives wearing the headset, mistaking projection for truth. But every now and then, something breaks through, a moment of synchronicity. You think of someone, and they call. You feel drawn down a path, and it leads somewhere profound. You hear a phrase you desperately needed, spoken by a stranger on a random Tuesday. Coincidence, no? These moments are not accidents. They are the universe responding to your awareness. When you tune in, reality tunes back. When you awaken, reality begins to bend, and it goes deeper still. Everything you believe to be fixed, your past, your future, even time itself is not what it seems. Time is not a straight line, not a path you walk from beginning to end. It is a spiral, a loop, a living mosaic of now moments. Wheeler's findings confirmed it. What you think of as yesterday or tomorrow are not separate. They are different vantage points of the same eternal now. You are not a momentary flicker in time. You are the light itself, infinite, unmoving. Imagine a whirlpool in a river. It has form, movement, an identity, but it's not separate from the river. It is the river in motion. The same is true for you. Your thoughts, your memories, your form, these are the whirl, but underneath, you are the current, the flow, the river itself. Wheeler called this a self-excited circuit, the idea that the universe exists because it observes itself, that awareness is both cause and consequence. And you are that awareness. So pause. Let this sink in. If every part of you is changing your thoughts, your cells, your beliefs, then what remains? What is it that witnesses the change? What is constant? It is the silent watcher behind your eyes, the one who notices the mind without becoming it. That's the real you, not the name, not the job, not even the body, just awareness, timeless, indivisible, whole. And here's the part that most never grasp. This awareness isn't merely personal. It is universal. The same essence that observes your life also observes the stars, the galaxies, the unfolding of all things, not from the outside, but from within. Because you are within it. You are not a drop in the ocean. You are the ocean in a drop. That's why the illusion of death holds so much power, because we believe it marks an end. But how can something infinite end? How can something that was never truly born ever truly die? Wheeler's vision shattered this falsehood. Death, as we understand it, is not a termination, it's a transition, a shift of perspective. A wave returning to the sea, you do not disappear, you expand. And when you start to live from this awareness, the story changes, Dawn, not because you fight it, but because you stop believing in its limitations. You no longer play a role, you become the playwright. You don't follow a script, you create it. You remember, You remember that the story isn't happening to you, you're writing it in real time. You remember that your fears were never truly yours. They were inherited, conditioned, absorbed. You remember that the entire universe responds not to what you say, but to what you feel. That it listens to your vibration and it echoes it back with astonishing accuracy. So ask yourself, truly, have you been living as the character or as the creator? Because right now, in this very moment, you can pick up the pen, you can begin again, and when you do, you don't just rewrite your story, you rewrite reality itself. There's a reason this truth feels so foreign, so hard to grasp. It's not because it's complicated, it's because something within you has spent a lifetime convincing you it isn't true. That something is the ego, a persistent, programmed voice that tells you who you are, what you can and cannot do, where you belong, and why you should be afraid to go beyond it. But the ego is not an enemy to destroy. It's a veil to see through. A glitch in your system that repeats the same fearful loop again and again until you remember how to override it. Imagine for a moment that you're standing on a grand stage, lights shining, audience silent. But you're not the actor. You're the writer, director, and stage designer, yet somewhere along the way, you forgot. You stepped into the costume, recited the lines, and convinced yourself that was all you were. The ego clings to that role, terrified of what happens if you step off the stage, terrified of what happens if you realize the stage was never real. It doesn't want you to know how powerful you are, because the moment you do, the illusion crumbles. The ego thrives on separation. It draws lines between you and everyone else, me versus them, right versus wrong, worthy versus unworthy. It whispers that you must achieve, compete, outperform, or you'll be left behind. It tells you love is conditional, that success is scarce, and that happiness is earned through suffering. And worst of all, it convinces you that your worth is tied to what you produce, how others see you, and how flawlessly you play the role. But underneath that noise, there's silence, stillness, clarity, and in that clarity is something immeasurably more real than the ego's voice. It's the gentle knowing that you were never broken, never small, never separate. Let's go even deeper. Every moment of pain you've ever felt, rejection, failure, loss, these weren't punishments. They were invitations. Invitations to remember that you are not your circumstances, that the storms you've weathered were not sent to break you, but to wake you. Because every struggle carves a deeper channel within you, a space where greater truth can flow in. You've felt it before, haven't you? Those moments when life seemed to align perfectly. When someone said exactly what you needed to hear. When you thought of someone and they appeared. That wasn't luck. That was resonance. That was life responding to your frequency, to your awareness. John Wheeler's work makes it clear the universe is not a machine. It's a mirror. It reflects not your words, not your wishes, but your state of being. Every thought, every emotion, every belief sends out ripples and the world responds accordingly. Fear breeds resistance. Joy breeds synchronicity. Doubt closes doors. Faith swings them wide open. But the ego doesn't want you to believe this. Because if reality responds to you, then you're responsible for it. And nothing terrifies the ego more than responsibility. It wants you to feel like a victim. It thrives on blame. It feeds on helplessness. Because as long as you believe you're powerless, the ego stays in control. But what if just for a moment you let that story go? What if you looked at every setback not as a failure, but as feedback? What if you saw every closed door as divine redirection, every heartbreak as expansion, every moment of doubt as an invitation to look inward rather than outward. The ego would hate it, but your soul would rejoice. Because the truth is, you've never been what you feared. You've always been the ocean pretending to be a wave. Limitless awareness pretending to be a person. The director forgetting their own script. And now, you're beginning to remember. This remembrance isn't just about feeling better. It's about reclaiming your creative power. Once you understand that you're the author of your reality, the entire game changes. You stop asking for permission. You stop waiting for signs. You stop outsourcing your power to circumstances, people, or even fate. You realize the signs were always responding to you. You begin to see that reality is malleable, not in a metaphorical way, but in a very real, very literal sense. Quantum physics proves it. Wheeler's participatory universe affirms it. The observer is not separate from what is observed. Observation creates experience. You are not a cog in the machine, you are the hands that built it. But here's the part most miss: this isn't about manifesting a better version of the dream. It's about waking up from the dream entirely. It's about peeling back the layers, the ego's stories, society's conditioning, generational beliefs until you return to what you've always been: infinite awareness. Still, silent, unshakable. And from that space, creation flows. When you live from this place, things begin to align. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because you are no longer resisting the flow. You understand that challenges are not blockages, but breakthroughs in disguise. That fear is not an enemy, but a messenger. That the world isn't happening to you, it's happening through you. And that is everything. So the question now is this: will you keep letting the ego write your story, or will you take back the pen? Because the page is blank, the ink is endless, and you've always known what you were meant to write. You've likely had moments in your life that felt too perfect to be coincidence, like reality was staging events with uncanny timing, choreographed just for you. Maybe it was hearing exactly what you needed from a passing stranger, or stumbling upon the right book, the right song, the right word, just when you were about to give up. Most people shrug these moments off. They call them luck or random chance. But deep down, you've always suspected otherwise. Because it wasn't random, it was responsive. And now, you're about to understand why. John Wheeler's participatory universe flipped the script on everything we thought we knew about reality. It didn't just suggest the universe is aware of us, it proved that the universe exists because of us. That it arises not as a preformed, objective world, but through interaction, through you. The act of observation doesn't simply reveal the universe, it calls it into being. You are not a bystander in this grand cosmic play. You're the stage, the actor, the audience, and the spotlight. Think about what this really means. If observation shapes reality, then your awareness is a tool of creation. And what you focus on becomes real, not just metaphorically, but at the quantum level, reality. Wheeler explained, emerges from binary decisions yes or no, belief or doubt, presence or distraction. He called it from bit, meaning everything. The it arises from bits of information, choices, observations, intentions. In every moment, you are broadcasting your frequency. And the universe listens. When you're aligned, when your thoughts, emotions, and awareness are in harmony, you send out a clear signal. And that signal is echoed back through what we call synchronicity. It's not magic, it's physics. When your internal state resonates with your external environment, doors open that were previously invisible, obstacles dissolve, patterns shift, the world moves. But the reverse is also true. When your mind is cluttered, when your emotions are chaotic, when your awareness is fragmented, your signal becomes scrambled. You send out static, and the universe reflects it back. Confusion, delay, blockage, not as punishment, as a mirror. This is why emotional awareness matters so deeply. Emotions aren't background noise. They're tuning forks. They shape the signal your awareness emits. Fear, shame, anger, they create distortion. Gratitude, love, wonder, they generate coherence. And coherence is what aligns you with the highest timeline available to you, the version of reality where everything flows with elegant ease. This is not wishful thinking. It's energetic precision. Imagine tossing a pebble into a still pond. Ripples spread from the point of impact, touching every edge of the water. Now imagine that pond is reality. Your awareness is the pebble. Every thought you think, every belief you carry, every intention you set, it ripples outward. And those ripples influence not just your experience, but the experiences of others. Because in Wheeler's universe, everything is connected. The very particles of existence are entangled meaning. Once they interact, distance and time no longer matter. Change one, and the other responds instantly. You're not an island. You are a node in a cosmic web of entanglement. A single shift in your vibration echoes through that web, adjusting the patterns of life itself. Now let's go deeper. Synchronicity is not a reward for being spiritual. It's not a pat on the back from the universe. It's feedback. It's the language of alignment. When synchronicity shows up, lean in. Ask yourself, what was I thinking just before this happened? What emotion was I dwelling in? What belief was I entertaining? Because the universe is not random. It is precise. It is responsive. And it is you. You are not receiving life as a passive observer. You are co-constructing it with every flicker of attention, every surge of emotion, every decision you make about what's real and what isn't. And the more conscious you become of this dance, the more intentional you can be in its choreography. Suddenly, life is not happening at you. It's unfolding through you. You are the cause, the signal, the origin. And here's the part few ever realize: synchronicity is not rare, it's constant. The only reason you don't see it more often is because the ego filters it out. The ego is obsessed with control, predictability, logic. It dismisses the subtle nudges of the universe as coincidence because they don't fit into its narrative. But the moment you drop the ego's lens even for a moment, the world reveals itself as something far more intelligent, far more interconnected than you've ever been told. So what happens when you stop brushing off those signs? What happens when you start responding to synchronicity instead of ignoring it? The answer is astonishing. You begin to enter flow, that elusive state where life feels effortless, guided, purposeful. You think of something, and it arrives. You follow an intuition, and it leads to something miraculous. You stop forcing, and things begin to fall into place. Not because you're lucky, but because you're aligned. Your internal vibration matches the external world you're stepping into. You are not waiting for miracles. You are living them. And if you've ever wondered why certain people seem to magnetize success, love, joy, ease, it's not random. It's resonance. They've tuned their awareness to a frequency where those realities already exist, and by doing so, they've collapsed those possibilities into their experience. This is the power of Wheeler's vision. The universe is not fixed. It is fluid, a mirror, a song, and you are the note that decides the melody. So next time you feel that pull, that subtle nudge, that eerie alignment, that moment of goosebumps, stop. Don't brush it off. Breathe into it, because life is speaking to you. And if you're truly listening, you'll realize it always has been. Death, the final curtain. The great unknown. For most, It is the shadow looming over every moment of life, the silent clock ticking in the background. But what if it's not what we think it is? What if everything you've believed about death, about endings, was based on a false premise, a misunderstanding born from a deeper illusion? Time. From the moment we open our eyes to this world, we are taught that time is a river flowing in one direction, from past to present to future. We measure our lives by clocks and calendars, milestones and memories, believing that we are moving forward, toward an inevitable end. But the truth is far stranger and far more beautiful. Time isn't linear. It isn't a one-way street. According to John Wheeler's revelations, time is not an arrow. It's a spiral, a loop, a field of infinite nows layered upon each other like frames of a film, all existing at once. The past hasn't disappeared. The future isn't waiting. They are all here, now, in a dimension beyond what the senses can perceive. Imagine reality as a vast ocean, no beginning, no end, and you are a wave rising, cresting, and falling back into that sea. The wave seems to have a life of its own. It appears, it moves, it disappears, but the water was never gone. The wave was never separate. That Wheeler taught us is the nature of existence. What you think of as life and death are not opposites. They are motions in the same infinite field. You are not the wave. You are the ocean, and the ocean never dies. This changes everything. Think about how much fear, guilt, and suffering are rooted in the belief that life is finite, that you must achieve, prove, acquire, earn before it's too late, that death is a deadline, looming ever closer, erasing everything. But that belief only exists because you think you were ever truly born. Wheeler's participatory universe shows us otherwise. It reveals that you are not a body with awareness. You are awareness having a temporary experience as a body. And that awareness, it was never born. It does not age. It does not decay. It simply is. Always. That's why. No matter how much your body changes, no matter how many memories fade or transform, there's a part of you that feels untouched by time. The same inner presence you knew as a child is still there, watching, witnessing, waiting. It's the real you, and it cannot die. When you realize this, not just intellectually, but viscerally, fear loses its grip. Death becomes not a wall, but a doorway, a shift in frequency, like a dreamer waking from one dream into another. You don't vanish. You expand. But this truth isn't just about death. It's about how you live. Because once you understand you are eternal, you stop living like you're temporary. You stop making fear-based decisions. You stop hiding behind the illusion of time. You stop deferring joy, delaying truth, postponing your purpose. You stop surviving and start creating. You start to see that every heartbreak, every challenge, every perceived loss was never happening to you. It was unfolding through you. The universe has always been reshaping itself according to your awareness, always teaching, always guiding, not with cruelty, but with precision, not as a judge, but as a mirror. Even the things you regret, the missed chances, the painful detours begin to look different. You see that they were necessary. Not because you deserved pain, but because they cracked the ego's illusion. They made space. They created the opening for this moment, the one you're in right now. And right now, you have a choice. You can cling to the illusion. You can live in the fear of endings, or you can step into your true identity as something infinite, timeless, and inseparable from the divine. But don't be fooled. The ego won't let go easily. It will tell you this is dangerous, that you're just dreaming, that you'll lose yourself. But here's the irony. The you the ego wants to protect isn't real. It's the costume, the character, the mask, The real you is unshakable. So how do you live as that? You begin by dropping the chase, the endless search for worth, for validation, for security. You stop searching and start remembering that everything you've ever longed for, love, meaning, freedom, peace, was never out there. It was within, always. Because you are not a fragment of the universe looking for connection. You are the universe looking at itself. And that realization, that direct experience of being, is what the mystics called enlightenment. It's what the physicists like Wheeler glimpsed through equations. It's what you feel in those rare, sacred moments when everything just clicks and you feel connected to something vast and nameless and holy. So let's bring it down to earth. Right now, close your eyes, take a breath, and feel that silent awareness beneath the thoughts. That's you. Not the name, not the story, not the personality, just presence. Timeless, spaceless, free. And now, open your eyes. The world hasn't changed. But you have, because once you touch that place, that eternal now, nothing is ever the same. Death loses its sting, time loses its urgency, and life begins to feel sacred, not because it's short, but because it's infinite. Have you ever noticed how the world seems to shift depending on how you feel? On the days you wake up with joy, the sky looks brighter. Strangers smile, everything flows. But when fear wraps itself around you like fog, the light dims. People seem colder. The path feels heavier. It's not your imagination. It's not a coincidence. It's a reflection, because emotion is not just a response to reality. It is the language of creation. John Wheeler's Participatory universe teaches that observation creates reality. But what is it that fuels your observation? What amplifies it, gives it color, texture, intensity? Emotion. Emotion is frequency. It is vibration. It is the code that instructs reality on how to respond. Like a tuning fork, your emotional state sends ripples through the quantum field, shaping outcomes, drawing experiences, aligning timelines. Whether you're aware of it or not, your feelings are the architects of your world. Let's break it down. A fleeting thought might pass through your mind like a breeze, but attach emotion to it. Fear, desire, gratitude, rage, and that breeze becomes a storm. Suddenly, that thought has power. It carries weight. It moves things. Not just within you, but around you. This is why two people can walk through the same door, into the same room, and have completely different experiences. One walks in with joy and receives smiles, connection, warmth. The other walks in with anxiety and meets rejection, dissonance, confusion. The room is the same, but the energy they emit, the emotional signature they bring, sculpts reality into a mirror. Wheeler's insights align perfectly with this. Reality doesn't form in a vacuum. It arises in response. And emotion, more than thought, is what the universe listens to. Yet most people live as if emotions are the effect, not the cause. They react. Something happens, a setback, a criticism, a delay, and they spiral, as if life is pulling the strings. But what if it's the other way around? What if every emotion you feel is not just telling you how you feel about the world, but how the world is about to respond to you? Because that's the truth. Your emotional state is predictive. It's generative. It's magnetic. You're not just responding to your environment. You're broadcasting it, and the signal is being received. The problem is, most of us are running on autopilot, carrying emotional frequencies we didn't choose. Frequencies of fear passed down by generations. Frequencies of shame whispered to us by society. Frequencies of limitation encoded into us by teachers, parents, media, and we think those emotions are ours. But they're not. They're inherited, installed, programmed, And now it's time to uninstall them. Because once you become aware of your emotional frequency, you reclaim the dial. You stop tuning into channels of scarcity, doubt, fear, and you begin to choose consciously. What reality do I want to step into today? What frequency do I want to resonate with? Love, trust, abundance, joy. Those are not outcomes. They are portals. Feel them genuinely, consistently, and the universe responds in kind. Let's take it further. Every emotion you feel is a message, not a problem to be solved or a weakness to be suppressed. Emotions like sadness, fear, anger, they're not enemies. They're signals. They show you where you're out of alignment, where you're believing something untrue, where you've forgotten who you are. When you feel fear, ask, what story am I telling myself? When you feel shame, ask, who gave me this belief? When you feel anger, ask, what boundary needs to be honored? And most importantly, when you feel joy, lean in, amplify it, celebrate it. Because joy is not frivolous. Joy is power. Joy is resonance with your true self. It's alignment made manifest. It's the universe saying, yes, this way. More of this. So how do you shift into emotional alignment? It begins with awareness. Pay attention to how you feel, not just occasionally, but constantly. Not as judgment, but as data. Ask yourself, over and over again, what am I broadcasting right now? Is it coherence or chaos? Is it love or fear? Is it truth or illusion? Then shift. Not with force, not with fake positivity, but with presence. Breathe, recenter, remind yourself of the truth. You are the observer, the creator, the participant. You are not stuck. You are not at the mercy of emotion. Emotion is your compass, and you are holding it. And if you forget, that's okay. This isn't about perfection. It's about awareness. The power lies not in never feeling fear, but in knowing what to do when fear comes. The moment you observe it, you change your relationship with it. The moment you name it, you stop being it. And from that place of clarity, you choose again. That's the true nature of emotional mastery. Not suppression, selection. Wheeler's participatory universe doesn't care whether your emotion is positive or negative. It doesn't judge. It simply reflects. It gives you exactly what you broadcast. Nothing more, nothing less. It is precise, impartial, honest. So ask yourself, what blueprint are your emotions creating today? If you want a different world, feel a different feeling, and don't wait for life to give it to you. Generate it, because when you do, the universe has no choice but to mirror it back. You are not a prisoner of your emotions. You are their architect, and through them, the architect of your reality. Right now, in this very moment, infinite versions of you exist. A version who took that risk, a version who walked away, a version who said yes, another who said no. These versions aren't imaginary, nor are they some distant metaphysical fantasy. According to John Wheeler's groundbreaking insights and quantum physics itself, they are real, all of them, coexisting in parallel dimensions, layered atop each other like translucent worlds waiting for you to tune in. Reality, Wheeler argued, is not something static and fixed. It's a tapestry of choices, a symphony of potential, and what determines the version of reality you experience, not fate, not chance, your awareness. You've been led to believe that your current life is the result of past decisions, circumstances, and luck, that you're here, now, stuck on a track you can only slightly adjust as if life were a train and you merely a passenger. But that's a lie, a story written by fear and accepted by the ego. The truth, You are the conductor. You are the one laying the tracks moment by moment based on what you choose to believe, feel, and focus on. Imagine reality as an infinite streaming service with countless channels broadcasting simultaneously. Each channel is a version of you, one where you're thriving in love, another where you're financially abundant, one where you're lost, one where you're healing. Right now, you're tuned into one of those frequencies not because it's more real than the others, but because your awareness aligns with it. So how do you change the channel? You change you? You don't chase the new reality. You become the version of yourself that already lives it. This isn't hypothetical, it's quantum. The observer effect tells us that particles exist in multiple potential states until they are observed. It is the act of observation of focused awareness that collapses potential into form. And this doesn't only apply to atoms in a lab, it applies to the moments of your life, the events, the relationships, the outcomes. Every time you shift your focus, you shift your trajectory. This is the power you've had all along, and now you're being asked to wield it with intention. So pause, feel into this. The version of you who lives in full alignment, joy, clarity, abundance, they already exist. Not someday. Not if you work hard enough. Now. Right now. And the only thing separating you from that reality is a veil of unconsciousness, a mismatch of frequency. You don't need to create that version. You only need to remember it, feel it, embody it. Close your eyes. Visualize that version of you. Where do they live? How do they walk? What choices do they make? What energy do they carry when they enter a room? What do they believe about themselves? Now feel it, not as imagination, but as identity. This isn't fantasy. This is frequency matching. And frequency matching is the law of the quantum field. When your inner world aligns with the vibration of the reality you want, you collapse that version into existence. You begin to think like them, speak like them, act like them, and the universe responds accordingly, not because it's rewarding you, but because you've tuned your awareness to that stream. The shift is internal, always. It's never about forcing the external world to change. It's about transforming your alignment so that the external has to reflect it. But here's the trap most fall into: they wait. They say, once I get the job, the love, the money, then I'll feel abundant, confident, happy. But that's backwards. The quantum field doesn't respond to your waiting. It responds to your being. Be first, receive later. You've been taught to live reactively, to let circumstances define your state. But what if you did the opposite? What if you let your state define your circumstances? That's the key. So ask yourself, what reality are you tuned into right now? Is it the version where you're small, stuck, afraid? The version where life happens to you? Or is it the version where you are the creator, aware, powerful, and sovereign? Because the moment you choose to shift, the moment you align your beliefs, thoughts, and actions with your higher self, the channel changes. It has to. Wheeler's It from bit theory reminds us that all of reality is made of binary choices, yes or no, fear or trust, limitation or expansion. Every moment is a fork in the road, a chance to pivot. You are never trapped, only unaware of the exits. But now, the exits are visible, and one of them leads to the version of you you've always known was possible. So how do you stay there? How do you remain tuned to that frequency? By living in integrity with it. Not sometimes, not when it's easy, every moment. Your beliefs must match your words. Your words must match your energy. Your energy must match your choices. That's alignment, and alignment creates momentum. Soon, synchronicities will increase. Resistance will fall away. The people and paths meant for you will reveal themselves, not because you summoned them, but because you finally tuned to the station they were always broadcasting on. It's not magic, it's mechanics. The mechanics of consciousness, the design of a participatory universe. And here's the final piece: you're not just shifting your own reality, you're influencing the entire field. Because every time you choose alignment over fear, you ripple that choice across the quantum web. You lift the collective. You anchor a new timeline for everyone. This is not just about your life. It's about the life of the world. So the next time you find yourself questioning what's possible, remember, you're not stuck. You're just tuned into the wrong channel. And the remote, it's in your hands. There is a moment, quiet, undeniable, when you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And begin to ask, what is this showing me? That moment changes everything, because it means you've begun to see the world not as something separate from you, but as something reflecting you. A mirror, unforgiving in its accuracy, infinite in its depth, and utterly sacred. John Wheeler didn't just suggest that you're part of the universe. He proposed something more radical: that the universe, in its entirety, arises in response to your awareness. That nothing exists, not stars, not atoms, not space, not time, until it is observed. This is not philosophy. This is physics. And the implications are cosmic. You are not in the universe. The universe is in you. Let that truth echo. What you see, what you feel, what unfolds around you, it's all a mirror of your internal state, your deepest beliefs, your unspoken assumptions, your unconscious patterns. These are the brushstrokes painting your external world. This is why some people live in beauty, synchronicity, abundance, while others exist in cycles of chaos and pain. It's not because one is lucky and the other is cursed. It's because each is projecting a different inner reality onto the same quantum canvas. The mirror doesn't lie. It doesn't judge. It simply reflects. Think about this when you feel confident. Doesn't the world seem to respond with opportunity? When you feel loving, don't the people around you soften? When you're aligned, doesn't life feel like it flows? Now reverse it. When you feel unworthy, don't you see rejection everywhere? When you feel scarcity, doesn't life seem to withhold? When fear takes over, isn't the world suddenly sharp, cold, unkind? It's not the world changing, it's your mirror shifting. Wheeler's self-excited circuit, the idea that reality exists because it observes itself, applies not just to the cosmos, but to your every breath, every moment you spend in awareness. The universe tunes to your frequency. You are the observer and the observed, the dreamer and the dream, the canvas and the brush. So what happens when you don't like the reflection? Most people blame the mirror. They get angry at the world, at others, at fate. But that's like yelling at your reflection for not smiling back. It changes nothing. The only way the mirror changes is when you do. This is the path of radical responsibility. It means that your relationships, your circumstances, your outcomes, none of them are random. They are echoes of you. And once you truly understand that, you stop trying to change the reflection and start transforming the source. But let's go even deeper. The mirror doesn't just reflect your conscious mind. It reflects your entire being, your subconscious fears, your ancestral programming, your unspoken beliefs. If you've been manifesting struggle, it's not because you're broken. It's because part of you still believes struggle is necessary. If you've been attracting betrayal, maybe some part of you equates love with pain. These are not flaws. They are invitations. The mirror isn't punishing you, it's teaching you. And every pattern you uncover, every shadow you bring to light, is a key to deeper sovereignty. So how do you use the mirror? You start by becoming brutally honest. Look at your life, all of it. Your finances, your health, your relationships, your emotions. Ask, what is this showing me about me? Not from a place of shame or blame, but from curiosity and compassion. Because the more clearly you see yourself, the more accurate the reflection becomes. And once you're clear within, the external world has to shift. It's law. That's why self-awareness is the foundation of creation. Not positive thinking, not affirmations shouted into the void. Awareness, silent, present, exact. Because when you see clearly, you choose wisely. And when you choose wisely, you create powerfully. Now imagine this. The mirror isn't just showing you who you are. It's expanding with you. Every breakthrough you experience, every fear you overcome, every truth you reclaim, the mirror grows. It reflects not just where you've been, but where you're capable of going. It shows you potentials you couldn't see before. Not because they weren't there, but because your previous self wasn't ready to see them. And now, you are. This is the dance of awakening. Each time you step deeper into your true self, reality steps with you. It's a tango with the divine, a mirror, yes, but also a partner, a co-creator, a sacred ally responding to your every breath. You are never alone in this process. The universe isn't watching from a distance. It is you, every sunset, every whisper, every coincidence. It's all your own awareness reflected back. And once you see that, once you really see it, life is never the same. You stop feeling like a stranger in a hostile world. You start moving with grace, with presence, with power. You stop begging for signs and start being the sign. You realize that the mirror isn't just a tool for reflection. It's a portal, and the more deeply you look into it, the more it reveals who you've always been. The infinite, the aware, the creator. The mirror has never lied. It was only waiting for you to open your eyes.